Welcome to the lesson Continuous Tense. After completing this lesson, you will be able to define types of continuous tense, list types of continuous tense, identify types of continuous tense. Shireen and Zwinky are watching the school kids play during recess. Suddenly, Shireen remembers something exciting. She tells Zwinky, "Jazz dancing is going on at the dance studio on Turner Road." Hearing this, Zwinky tells her, "I was just dancing last night at home." The girls do not notice that their English teacher is walking by. She tells the girls that they are using the continuous tense a lot today. Shireen and Zwinky do not know what the continuous tense is. The teacher tells them that there is the present continuous tense, the past continuous tense, and the future continuous tense. She decides to tell the girls about the continuous tense. Let us learn about the continuous tense along with Shireen and Zwinky. The present continuous tense forms its verbs in the following way. Verb to be plus present participle. For example, I am reading. The verb in this sentence is formed using the auxiliary verb am and the present participle reading. The present continuous tense has negative and interrogative forms as well. The negative form is formed by putting not after the auxiliary. For example, he is not reading. Not is placed after the auxiliary is. The interrogative is formed by interchanging the positions of the subject and the auxiliary. For example, he is reading. To change this sentence to the interrogative, we exchange the subject he and the auxiliary is. So, the sentence becomes, is he reading? The present continuous tense can be used to describe an action that is going on at the time of speaking. For example, I am writing a book. To describe an action that is not necessarily going on at the time of speaking. For example, you are skating a lot. To show an action that is arranged or expected to take place in the future. For example, Roger is having a meeting next week. Certain verbs are not used in the present continuous tense. Verbs of perception such as see, hear, smell, notice, recognize, etc. Verbs of appearance such as appear, look, seem, etc. Verbs of emotion such as want, wish, desire, feel, love, like, etc. Verbs of thinking such as think, suppose, believe, know, etc. And verbs showing possession such as own, contain, possess, etc. It is incorrect to say, I am having new boots. We must say, I have new boots. However, these verbs can be used in the continuous tense with a changed meaning. For example, we are thinking of buying a new house. Here, thinking means that we are considering the idea of buying a new house. The past continuous tense speaks of a continuing action but in the past. It is formed in the following way. Verb to be plus present participle. For example, I was reading. The past continuous tense differs from the simple past tense. The simple past tense indicates a completed action, while the past continuous tense indicates an action that was going on in the past. They lost the match. This is an example of the simple past tense. The action of losing has finished. They were losing the match. This is an example of the past continuous tense. It indicates that the action of losing was being continued in the past. The past continuous tense can be used to describe an action which started at some point in the past but had not ended at the time of speaking. For example, they were playing snakes and ladders to show an action of longer duration. For example, when they met her, she was busy painting. The shorter action of meeting takes place in the middle of the longer action of painting, while telling stories to show a long-lasting action. For example, she was sleeping for 100 years. To express an action that was a persistent habit in the past, the words always and continually are used for this. For example, Sylvie was always crying. To form a clause, for example, I was studying when the electricity went off. I was studying forms a clause. The future continuous tense tells of an action that will be continuing in the future. It can be formed in the following way: will be plus present participle. For example, I will be reading. The negative of the future continuous tense is formed by adding not after will. For example, I will not be reading. Will not in future continuous tense can be contracted to won't. Won't becomes the short form of will not. For example, I will not be reading becomes I won't be reading. The future continuous tense can be used to say that something will be in progress somewhere in the future. For example, the sale will be starting online soon. To show something that takes place in the future as a matter of routine or as a planned happening. For example, they will be celebrating Andy's birthday. With the simple tense in the same sentence, the word when is usually used. For example, he will be studying when the TV show starts. With the word while to indicate two parallel actions that are happening at the same time. For example, Jerry will be cooking while Tom will be setting the table. We have looked at present, past, and future continuous tenses. Let us now read some more examples. The English teacher has explained the continuous tense to Shireen and Zwinky. Let us revise the main points with them before their teacher leaves. The present continuous tense forms its verbs in the following way: verb to be plus present participle. The negative of this tense is formed by putting not after the auxiliary. The interrogative of this tense is formed by interchanging the positions of the subject and the auxiliary. Usage of present continuous tense. To describe an action that is going on at the time of speaking. To describe an action that is not necessarily going on at the time of speaking. To show an action that is arranged or expected to take place in the future. Certain verbs are not used in the present continuous tense. Verbs of perception, verbs of appearance, verbs of emotion, verbs of thinking, verbs showing possession. They may be used for changed meanings, however. The past continuous tense speaks of a continuing action, but in the past. It is formed by using the verb to be and the present participle. It differs from the simple past tense. Usage of past continuous tense. To describe an action which started at some point in the past but has not ended at the time of speaking. To show an action of longer duration. While telling stories, to show a long-lasting action. To express an action that was a persistent habit in the past. To form a clause. The future continuous tense tells of an action that will be continuing in the future. It is formed using will be plus present participle. Will not can be contracted to won't. Usage of future continuous tense. To say that something will be in progress somewhere in the future. To show something that takes place in the future as a matter of routine or as a planned happening. With the simple tense in the same sentence, the word when is usually used. With the word while to indicate two parallel actions that are happening at the same time.